in 10 years.
What are Bill's concerns as somebody who spends a lot of time traveling around the globe, as somebody who is trying to help medicine in some of the less developed parts of the world?
Yeah, the Gates Foundation is very active in trying to be helpful on this, and Bill says the CDC is the best in the world, and I mean, we've got terrific resources in this country, but a pandemic is a pandemic, and there's just no evaluating. But I have heard that the summer is not likely to cause the end of this.
Do you know why?
But I don't know, and you know, you shouldn't be asking. I shouldn't be offering my opinion on that, because I pass along things I hear from people I think are smart, but
I'm actually asking for Bill's opinion, not yours.
yeah, well, I shouldn't really quote him, but I do. He's the guy I ask, and I did talk to him just a few days ago, and he loves to talk science, and he can make it so I can understand it, which is quite a trick. You know, at the Gates Foundation, they're taking it very seriously. I'll put it that way.
Is money going from the Gates Foundation to try and find a vaccine?
I'm sure we're expending human and financial resources.
I mean, maybe this is more than you know, but do you know if they have put human resources out either into China or other places where there's...
I don't know that. I don't want to comment on that, but I know that that is something they've always spent. They've been very involved in is human health, and even particularly this. Bill knows a lot about vaccines.
Okay. Let's talk a little bit about Berkshire Hathaway. We were in the middle of a conversation when we had to go to a break before, but there has been this question raised, not only by Barron's in the cover story there, but by other places too, about whether Berkshire Hathaway would be worth more if it were split up.
It's a good question, and I will tell you that if you were to say, and let's say the stock market didn't change for 2 years and interest rates didn't change, so you had a 2-year period and you said, we'll sell off all the businesses. Mm-hmm. I don't think, I mean, you have the expenses of selling them. Now, if you sold them all to people who leveraged them up to their maximum, you might get a little more than the stock is selling for. It would be very tax inefficient, very tax inefficient. Interestingly enough, up till 1986, it wouldn't have been. I mean, there was a general utilities doctrine that governed corporate breakups, and so you could dispose of businesses or securities if you did it right. You could dispose of securities or businesses that had appreciated without a tax at the corporate level. That was done regularly in various ways up till 1986. They revised the tax code big time. They killed general utilities. You can't do that now. Now you can have spin-offs, this business or that business. You probably have to lie a little in terms of your purpose in order to get the best tax ruling. And it takes time, but you cannot break up, you cannot dispose of the entire business, business by business, without having very substantial tax liability. It would not produce a gain. On the other hand, having them together produces, there's some very valuable synergies in there. Now, we don't use leverage as much as the people who would buy them piece by piece would do. So we could leverage Berkshire up to the sky. I've promised people we won't, because we have insurance promises to people out 50 or 100 years, and we've got shareholders who are going to own the stock for 50 years, and they do not want us to leverage to the sky. But there would not be a profit if we were simply to announce that over the next 24 months that you could come in and buy any business we had and we'd sell them to the highest bidder.
You made a point of talking about this in the annual letter.
Yeah.
You said, key to my Berkshire-only institutions is my faith in the future judgment and fidelity of Berkshire directors. They will regularly be tested by Wall Streeters bearing fees. At many companies, these super salesmen might win. I do not, however, expect this to happen.
That's exactly true. And I think by writing it, it helps it a little, too. No, there's no question that Wall Street would love to come along and sell anything that we've got. I mean, there's a fee every time that there's a transaction, and they're big fees, and there's fees for financing. I mean, so we've had all kinds of people snoop around that. They know they're not getting it done with me, but it won't get done later on either. I am leaving every share of Berkshire I have goes to charity, and it's 99% of my net worth. So nobody cares more than I do about getting the most money to those philanthropies over the years following my death. And that's going to take place over 15 years. And I say keep it all in Berkshire. But if I thought that it was going to be run in a way responsive to Wall Street, I would instead do something else and have the money distributed to these philanthropies and not have it all tied to Berkshire. But Berkshire has a very unusual shareholder base. I mean, we have individuals that own Berkshire, and a lot of them have owned it 50 years, just like it's people buy it to own for lifetime, and we're going to run it in a way that they won't be disappointed in.
Do you think the people who are relatively newer shareholders buying the B shares have the same mentality as the people who have been in it for 50 years in the A?
Well, we try to,
shares?
because that's who we encourage. I mean, in effect, we don't want everybody to buy our stock. I mean, there's only so many seats. There's about 1,600,000 and some thousand A shares out. All the seats are filled. I love the shareholders we have. I don't want to go to Wall Street and try and get some new shareholders. They're going to replace the people we have. So what we want to have is people in those seats that are in sync with us. You can run a French restaurant or you can run a hamburger stand. And if you serve good hamburgers, you'll do good business at the hamburger stand. You can, at the French restaurant, you do the same thing there. But you can't run the French restaurant and then serve hamburgers inside. And you can't run the hamburger stand and serve French food inside. So we advertise in our deeds, in our words, in every way we can what we're about. And we're looking to have the seats filled at our church by people who are in sync with us. And we do have them there. We get the same people every Sunday. And I see no advantage in going out and telling everybody in Wall Street we're going to do wonderful things and having those seats replaced, because the only way you can get a seat is to throw somebody else out of that seat. There's only so many seats and they're all full, and you want them filled with people who are in sync with the policies of the company, and therefore you have to explain those policies and you have to live up to those policies, and for 55 years we've tried to.
So you get the shareholders you deserve.
Exactly.
All right, not to mix metaphors, but can you have a decentralized central office running both the French restaurant and the hamburger place?
Well, they aren't trying. We're not trying to have the railroad management run the utility or anything.
No, decentralized, that's what I mean. A decentralized headquarters that's in charge, a conglomerate in charge of all those different businesses.
Well, we could run. Well, we have decentralized management as it is. We could have somebody in charge of all the little companies, another one for the big. I mean, we could divisionalize it in all kinds of ways. I think we'd have more overhead. I think we'd have a different sort of manager. Our managers like running their own businesses, and they never have to finance their businesses. I mean, they never have to go to Wall Street. They probably save 25% of their time, and I want them to feel they own their businesses, and that's all they're responsible for. If we mess up some other way, they get paid based on how they do, and there again, we attract managers who like to operate on that basis. We don't attract managers, particularly who think they're going to keep moving step by step through various divisions and eventually run the whole place.